Welcome to our Vault Shorts. These are shorter episodes highlighting programs and resources here in our billing community. And today we're going to be talking about consistency.
The following is a Big Sky Economic Development production.
It's Marce B.
And KaVo.
And this is The Vault at 201 North Broadway.
A business podcast.
Where we bring you entrepreneurs, small business owners, and community leaders of Montana.
To share their stories, expertise, industry insights, and strategies.
And we are sharing them all with you every single week.
You don't want to miss this.
Learn how to better start, manage, and grow your business.
And your leadership style.
Tangible takeaways to save you time and improve whatever it is that you're working on.
You're listening to The Vault.
Thank you to Big Sky Economic Development for supporting The Vault at 201 North Broadway. Big Sky Economic Development provides leadership and resources for business creation, expansion, retention, new business recruitment, community development, and workforce development. Learn more at bigsky.economicdevelopment.org.
So consistency in business operations is paramount for building trust with customers, maintaining brand integrity, and ensuring sustainable growth. So what do I mean by this,
Kayla,
Marcel?
tell us what you mean.
Have you ever went to try a business, you check their hours online, you're like, great, they're open, and then you show up and they're closed?
Yeah.
And how does that make you feel?
Not great.
Not great.
Not great.
And how does it make you want to go back?
Not necessarily. I think any other little pet peeve, and I know it's just a different thing, but it's on consistency, and it's like, oh, Labor Day or whatever might affect these hours. Mm-hmm. But it's like if I go to their social media, so there's multiple places I will go. I will do my research. And I think on that, it's like if you have some of those accounts and followers, it's being consistent on posting about that, which we'll probably talk about in a bit. But it's like, too, I think with your website, having a website, I think is awesome. Even if it's like a landing page and you don't invest a ton of money into it, if you're like a food truck or something, hypothetically. But just going to your Facebook, too, if you don't have and then when I click on that and then I have to go into Facebook and it's not posted right there, I don't think it makes your customers feel great.
No, I don't think so. And I think especially with food trucks, they move around, right? They don't have like a set place that they typically are. So if you can't find them, you can't visit them and you can't, give them business. So it is very important to be clear.
And I think social media is a really easy way, especially if you're not like I said, investing in your website, if you are a food truck, hypothetically, or something along those lines. But Facebook and Instagram are free. And it's just like that consistency and posting, that daily posting. What's your special? What are your hours today?
And you can post through Instagram that goes right to your Facebook.
Yeah, and it's easy. And I think it keeps people it keeps you top of mind as the company of like, oh, that looks really good today. I think a company that does that really well when they're open during their open season is Local Berry. Like they're posting their hours. They're posting their specials. And of course I see that. And of course I go to get the rainbow with almond butter. Of course I'm going, but it's because I see it.
Yep.
And then I'm like, yes, they're open. And for businesses that are open all the time, I think it's still just a nice reminder for people. It's keeping your brand top of mind for your followers and your customers.
Absolutely. You know who I think does a good job is Casual Space. They post all the time. She is on it. You're always seeing her classes. She's always updating you on what's going on in the space. She's, highlighting the vendors, and that is really good. And you understand what her messaging is, what her brand is, which is really good. So on that same line, talking about a company's messaging, have you ever been to a store and been confused on what they do?
Yeah. I think everyone has, right?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's more common than people think. And so, when we're talking consistency, we're not just talking about hours of operation and not being there. Like very important. Yeah.
Level kind of things of like, when are you open? When are you closed? And how to be consistent with that, because you don't, like you said, you don't want to walk down somewhere, like pop in and you're like, oh, they're
drive across
open.
Town. And I think with the, I'm not and don't quote me on this, the statistic is people will try you twice, and if you're not open, they won't try you again. So you literally have 2 chances to make an impression before you lose a customer for life. And so it's super important.
And what a great opportunity that is too. I think like when someone walks into we just talked about it on a previous episode, but they've chosen to come to you, right? And then you walk into that threshold. What's that initial experience? What's that initial perception? Because as we know, perception's reality to an extent. And so when people are walking in, are they clear, back to your question of what it is that you're providing, especially if you're like tangible goods that you're selling and it's not as servicey. But I think if you're a service-based company too, is it clear when they walk in to come and see you that you know what their products, maybe.
Exactly. Yeah. So there are several reasons why consistency is very crucial within business. And we're going to go through some of that today. So if you are struggling to understand maybe why you're not retaining customers as much, or you haven't been getting the sales that you're looking for, it could be in one of these. So brand perception. So brand perception helps to create a strong and recognizable identity in the minds of consumers. And being consistent in your brand identity can increase revenue by up to 23%.
And I think that means, right, with that brand identity, like some brands that you know that you like, think about the brands you see their logo that doesn't have a name. And it's like instant, you know exactly Nike. What it is. There used to be games on like iPods back in the day. I'm sure it's still an app, but it's like guessing those logos,
Tetris,
right?
Right. Yeah.
You know, what are those?
I'm guessing, and you're not even saying things. I'm just throwing things
out
there.
No, but it is. And I just saw this funny thing on Instagram about this young kid that had to like do this little test, but it goes back to brand. And it's like spelling out what it is. So there was like different things, but it was funny, like a plane, and he's like, Dad's airplane, and there was a watch photo, and you're supposed to write watch, and the kid wrote Rolex. You know, it's just a funny thing on Instagram. But I think that it's consistency in all avenues, like how your team looks, dresses, feels, how they greet your customer, what the external, internal of your facility is like, how you email, how you sign on an email, what collateral you have that you hand out, like all of those things are branding.
Absolutely. Yeah. And if you're inconsistent in your brand, it confuses your customers. And so like you said, what is that messaging, and is it across all of my channels? So if I'm saying something about I'm not open for Memorial Day, am I posting it all over? If I am going to have a special, am I telling people through all of my platforms?
Newsletters,
exactly.
Email, things like that.
Do my posts look familiar so people can start that brand recognition, and they could look at my logo and know exactly what I do?
And do they come to you knowing that too, I think is really big. Like when they see you and they like just associate that with you.
Exactly. Yeah. And so brand perception is very important. Customer trust is the next one. Consistent customer experience across all channels. And this again, Marcel is our senior director of engagement, and a big portion of her workload is marketing our departments. And so making sure that our customers and clients are satisfied and loyal to the different departments that we have based on the marketing that we have, and what are we putting those through. So to give examples, we have the Veterans Business Outreach Center. Probably the messaging that's going to go out to them is not the same that's going to go out to our community development.
Yeah, because it's customers. A different customer, right? But they still have these clients that are really wonderful, but their messaging's different because what services they provide to those customers are different. And I think that it's important to within that space, set your bar high, right? Like with the bar, I don't mean like so it's not attainable. You want to set it high so that your customer service, all of those things, that you can reach it. So then when you do reach that high bar, you can move it up again and just continually improve what that service is like for your customer and your clients.
Exactly. And then that builds customer trust.
Mm-hmm.
So when you have inconsistency in this department, when a company fails to deliver on its promises, it makes the customer perceive it as unreliable and untrustworthy.
Yeah.
And it's very hard to build broken trust back. And so then at that point, you could have damaged your reputation. You could have lost a customer for life. So that's why it's super important to be consistent.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think training too, I think of other like medical kind of companies where maybe a patient comes in and something, happened and they're unhappy, and how your team reacts in those situations is huge. And I think that having your team there and really trying to be helpful to that customer who maybe didn't get what they thought they were, and trying to mend that as much as possible, unless they're like super unreasonable and it was the whole weird situation, which happens. But
owning your mistakes,
just taking care of them at the end of the day, like what's best for that customer, your client, your patient, really should drive a lot of what you do.
Absolutely. And so that brings
trust.
Definitely brings trust. But you also mentioned employees being trained, which brings to employee performance is also a part of that consistency. And you've mentioned it a few times already, is brand isn't just, what people are seeing, it's how their experience is. And so that goes along with training and being efficient in your organization and your management practices. And so employees understanding what their piece in that role is, it's very important in your consistency of every part of your business.
Because they're the ones with boots on the ground. So your employees, your team members need to feel, like you said, like they understand their role and responsibility, and how that piece, that important piece of them working, contributes to the larger mission goals of your company. And I think getting their buy-in and helping them be the best they can be is really helpful, because they're the ones that are day in and day out working with the client, customer, patient, et cetera, and they're that front line. They're the people that are, really huge on that brand. Like when you walk in somewhere,
they're the face of your business, right?
Right. How are they greeted depending on what your company is? Like I stayed at a hotel a couple years ago and I was greeted with a glass of champagne and, we're so excited to have you here. And I think little touches like that are so key and so important, that they're done consistently and well, where it feels genuine and it doesn't feel fake, right? And your employees, we talked about it in Abby's episode, so more detail on employee performance and ideas in that one, but I think it's really important.
Well, it is super important. And when you have inconsistencies in there, it messes with the employee's job satisfaction, and it can really hurt your culture. And so people just want to know, what are you expecting of me? And then I can deliver on that. And what are the tools for me to deliver on that? And if you're not providing that, that is something that you need to sit down and really get a grasp on, because if you're seeing a lot of turnover in your business, it might be where you need to sit down and go, what is my training? What is my onboarding process? I mean, we've talked about it before. Onboarding processes are hugely important when you bring new people on, and it can be the first taste that person has to your organization or your company. And if it's not a great experience, that's setting a tone that's not right.
Right. And onboarding doesn't just, and we will have a different episode just fully on onboarding, but onboarding doesn't just happen. So it's that first day, it's that first week, that first month, that first year, really, where you're really bringing that team member along. And I think it doesn't necessarily stop, because you want your team to always feel excited, energized to come in and provide those services, those expertises to whoever it is that you're serving as a company.
Absolutely. So before we move on, we're going to hear a quick word from our sponsor.
Hi, this is Shannon Hahn with the Department of Transportation and the Small Business Program. I'm here to talk to you today about the DBE and the SBE programs. The DBE program is for disadvantaged small businesses, so that's minority and women, and the SBE program is for non-minority and non-women-owned businesses. These programs provide business assistance to contribute to the growth and self-sufficiency of businesses in the transportation industry. Services include business skills development, training, networking opportunities, bonding assistance, and much, much more. So if you're a highway-related business, please go to our website. You'll see what the eligibility criteria is at mdt.mt.gov. You can call our 1-800 number, which is 800-883-5811. So give us a call. Thanks.
So the next one I want to talk to us about in the consistency world is operational efficiency. So we've kind of touched on this a little bit with employees and having, a right onboarding process and how important it is. And then having, the right processes and procedures. And that is super important in operations efficiencies, because if you don't have the right processes and procedures in place, you're not streamlining and reducing the opportunity for errors. This is a huge piece of manufacturing. So we work with the Montana Manufacturing Extension Center. Lane Gobbs, big shout out to him. He's our area rep, but he does the lean manufacturing training. And that really helps them understand, what exactly does each piece in that, let's say, train goes into building that, and then how long does it take for each thing to get to. It can take a lot of time out of the day to do things incorrectly, and then you're paying those people to do those things, when if it was just set up efficiently from the start, your productivity is higher, your team engagement is higher. So you really have to be consistent.
And constant modification, right? Because things change, and we talked with Brian Wood about it on the Woods Power Group episode, but things evolve and change, especially if you have technology within it. So like, what are those processes you maybe have in place currently that could be modified to be automated or just streamlined so that it's a little bit easier, so that every time that, again, coming back to the client, that experience is consistent between all of the people that come through your door in a day, and that they all feel the way you want them to feel.
Absolutely. And I would add to this one too, is be open and listen to your employees for their feedback on different things, because you may be so used to doing something in some way that you're missing an efficiency that you could add in. The processes and procedures is a great place to start, but do know it's like a living document. You need to constantly update it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it goes for a lot of things that you do within an organization.
Absolutely.
From how you greet people to how you close down for the day. What does that look like?
Yeah, and I think it's so funny. I was talking to somebody about this not long ago, an SOP, right? Standard operating procedure. And they said that they were trying to train somebody to do something. And so they wrote up their SOP and they sent it over to them. But what they didn't do is they didn't include just the general steps. They were just like, well, here's what you need to do for this piece. And so then they sat down and they go, well, when I did this practice before with somebody, it was when I'm going to tie my shoe, I'm going to put my foot in the shoe. I'm going to pull the tongue up. I'm going to pull the laces. Then I'm going to cross the laces.
Around the tree or something.
And so honestly, when you're creating those different things, you need to think from the very start. So the minute someone walks through my door, they need to be greeted within 1 minute. And if you can't verbally greet them, make sure you smile and wave, or make sure you acknowledge them in some nonverbal way.
Body language is hugely important. And I think if you're a business that's a little more technical, maybe having a guide. We're just onboarding to a CRM right now, so it's top of mind. But they have great ways to help you do it yourself, which, you love it, you hate it, but it's going to help in the long run of really understanding the system you're in. But they have visuals of, if you're a service online or maybe you're just online, having visuals to walk people through what it looks like and what step they're at, so they can just click, or, if it's an employee doing a task, that it's easy for them. And it does take time, I think, to set up some of these systems, but I think it'll save you time and increase your bottom line in the end, because it's saving you time if you think about all the time that it takes an employee or yourself to do X, Y, and Z.
And then they know their expectations.
Exactly.
Yeah. The other piece of consistency is your financial performance. So understanding your reports and really reviewing your numbers. We were just talking to somebody and they were saying the first thing that they do in the morning is actually look at their previous day's reports. And so you just need to know where you are, so you can lead better, you can lead with confidence, and you can set yourself up for long-term growth, because you are understanding exactly where you are.
And where the money's being spent, right? So maybe you're spending X amount for advertising and X, Y, and Z. How are you tracking that return? And is it more of a goodwill type of advertisement, or is it something where you really should be seeing an increased volume of customers because of your advertising?
Absolutely. And then last but not least, I would say one of the most important pieces is customer retention. So consistency in your customer service and product quality can increase your customer retention rates by 5%. So just think about that. If you are not consistent with your branding and your operating hours, it can be significantly reduced in your customer loyalty. So customers are more likely to remain loyal to brands that provide that consistent and reliable experience. Those are the people that are going to be your high value customers. They're going to be the ones that are going to come back to you. They're going to be the ones that are your biggest advocates. They're going to speak about you. They're going to tell people about you. They're going to bring people to you. So you just need to make sure that you're consistent in every piece that we just talked about in order to keep those customers coming.
Yeah, I love that. I think we just have had multiple episodes lately on that. Like we just, again, to talk about Abby with City Vineyard, but every time you call to make a reservation for their bar side, you're greeted with such a voice that's so happy and excited to talk to you, to help you in whatever it is that you're looking for. And when you walk in the door, their staff greets you, they take you and they take care of you during your whole time with them. I think we all know those brands, whether that's you're shopping for something specific or you're, getting a service done. I think thinking about that in multiple ways, you're coming back for that service because you liked it.
Absolutely.
So recap us, Kayla, what are these consistent business tips? So consistency in business operations.
Brand perception, customer trust, employee performance.
And then we moved into operational efficiency,
financial performance, and last but not least, your customer retention.
So really thinking before you guys go, all of these things are areas, buckets that Kayla has kindly outlined for us to think about as you're reflecting on your business and what operations are going on.
Absolutely. So remember, maintaining consistency is a key driver of competitive advantage and long-term growth. And if you need help and you're finding that you're having some issues in some of these areas, you can always reach out to the Small Business Development Center, the SBDC, for help.
So reaching out to Kayla, and they can really help walk through each of these in more detail with you, with some processes and procedures.
Absolutely. So thank you guys for being with us here today, and we look forward to talking with you tomorrow.
Bye.
Next week. One day.
We hope you enjoyed this episode.
Make sure you are subscribed to The Vault at 201 North Broadway, wherever you podcast, including YouTube.
Connect with us on Facebook at The Vault at 201 North Broadway and Instagram at The Vault_201.
Don't forget to visit us at thevault@201.com and subscribe to our newsletter.
We will see you next time.
Bye. Thank you to the Small Business Development Center for sponsoring The Vault at 201 North Broadway. The Small Business Development Center offers free personalized support from business plans to financial projections and beyond, empowering small businesses to thrive. Reach out to us at bigsky economic development.org.